long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, before the 20-year war in the Middle East, the War on Terror, Infinity Wars, Captain America Civil War, Robot Wars, the Rating War, the War on Christmas, Shipping Wars, Shopping Wars, Parking Wars, Blackboard Wars, all 4 Storage Wars, Cupcake Wars, and even Cola Wars. There was Star Wars. Plain and simple, non-episodic, standalone. Star Wars. As Obi-Wan might say, it was a movie for a jolly night, not as gloomy or political as its many spin-offs, an adventure film for a more civilized age. The current time of recording is 2021. We are post-episode 9 and pre-episode 10. Will there even be an episode 10, you say? You can almost guarantee it. But will it be a light-hearted, high-tension, wholesome adventure that the whole family can enjoy? Or will it be a controversial dividing battleground and substitute for religious political agendas and ideological opinions that we can argue about online in the comment sections of social media, using poor spelling and embarrassing grammar until our fingers bleed and our eyeballs yellow? Well, only time will tell. For now, we have 14 Star Wars films to rank. So take a few parsecs to climb aboard our starship, the Millennial Fallout, as we navigate the asteroid belt known as Star Wars movies. Coming in last and lying still like the rotting corpse of Jabba the Hutt on Tatooine, it's number 14, that film that, well, I can't say the name because if I do, I'll have fever dreams for a month. So work it out yourself. Swiftly moving on to, unlucky for some, 13. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Now, there's a lot of rumors circling around about Star Wars, and I want to correct a couple of things. One such falsehood is that George Lucas went through a lot of working titles for Episode 2, such as Weekend at Padme's, I Was a Teenage Jedi, and even Beach Blanket Django. And that Mr. Lucas considered that they sounded too much like B-movie titles, so he changed it to Attack of the Clones. Wow. Well, I think that's not true. But if it was, bullet dodged, George, well done. More fake news includes this shaky fakey. Episode 2 is the first movie to be completely rendered and written by artificial intelligence, mainly using Adobe Awful Effects. Well, whoever started these rumors is a phantom menace and should be ashamed of themselves. All in all, this is the best George Lucas film since Howard the Duck. 12. Trundling ahead like a sluggish ATTE and as pretty as an assassin arthropod, it's 2008's Star Wars The Clone Wars. Interesting trivia, this was the first film to be released on Blu-ray. And it's also the first animation to induce depression and comas for children. Sit back and enjoy this adventure film aimed at, I don't know, kids of all ages. And as we all know, kids of all ages love looking at muted color palettes. Sit back and admire the spectacle of beige, light brown, ash brown, chocolate brown, pebble gray, battleship gray, groundhound gray, and salacious yellow. Let your heart fall asleep with characters that look like they're made of clay. Much like the claymation in the early 80s, but none of that dreadful burden of facial expressions or sense of real mass and density. And number 11, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Okay, now, all jokes aside for a moment, I have to admit something. Making this list made me go back and watch the prequels again, just to make sure I wasn't looking back with rosy pod racer goggles. But you know what? It turns out I was. Undoubtedly, Phantom Menace has a lot of things I like. Subjectively, though, as a Star Wars diehard fan. But as I watched it again recently, I was reminded of how many bad ideas and perplexingly bizarre choices there are in this, just from a story point of view. The obvious things that most people despise about the prequels are things like Jar Jar, the bad acting, the abundance of silly slapstick jokes, and mention of midichlorians. As a diehard fan, I could forgive all that, but it's the screenplay itself, the dialogue, the exposition, the story. And did I mention the diabolical dialogue? The Sith have been extinct for a millennium. But who are the Sith? What do they do? What do they want? They've been gone for 1,000 years, but you knew immediately that there are always two, and only two. A master and an apprentice. Only two. Ever since I heard that, I've wondered why that fact is even relevant. So there are dozens and dozens of Jedi, but there can only be two Sith. But why? What purpose does that serve, George? And if you were a Sith Lord, why even have an apprentice if you know he or she is most likely to kill you in order to succeed? Then that begs the question, if one kills the other, where does the next Sith apprentice come from, if there are only two to begin with? Was Count Dooku a Jedi right up until Darth Maul was sliced in two? There's been so many Star Wars films, but never any satisfying definition of what are the Sith. What do they want? In Episode 3, it's titled Revenge of the Sith, so presumably it's referring to Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious, seeking revenge on something. But what exactly? Because Darth Vader only appears at the end of the film, so it's unlikely that it's his revenge. So what kind of revenge are we talking about? And revenge for what? What happened 1,000 years ago with the Sith? And if they're such a threat, why is it taking so long to get the Sith together? As you can see, I've gone on a mad nerd tangent and I've lost my mind. But this is my main problem with the prequels in general. These type of questions never entered my head while watching the original trilogy. Star Wars felt more like a adventure tale, fairy tale, call it what you will. But it was never hard work. It never made me scratch my head the way that the prequels do. Anyway, let's change the subject. Oh, yeah! Funnily enough, Episode 1 was higher on the list, but after watching it again, I just couldn't do it. And you're gonna be shocked and appalled to find out that the Ewok films, that's right, the two made-for-TV Ewok films, okay, it was aired on the cinema in some countries, but it was made for TV, it was straight to video, and it has that feeling about it. But I went back and I watched these, and really the only complaint I can make about it is that it does feel cheap, but it's pretty good given what it is. It's a TV movie aimed directly at kids, not adults, just aimed at kids, and it's not a bad kids adventure. Thanks to and compared to the previous films, these two films now feel like Citizen Kane in comparison, and for that I thank them. And for me, that's the end of part 1. I hope you've enjoyed my little rant, and I will pass you on to my cohort, and if not, I'll see you in the next one. Tune in tomorrow for our next episode. And don't forget to like us, subscribe to us, tell your friends, and don't have nightmares. You can find us on Instagram at those WT Days. Signing out.